Yes, you are now involved with the Cinema 9 podcast on a grandiose scale. Travis Roy, Eric Bradshaw, Michael Govier. It's time to do movie talk. We do Does It Hold Up every week. This week's movie is Bull Durham, a 1988 film directed by Ron Shelton, starring Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon, Tim Robbins, and more. And Robert Wall's in that one. We will get into that later in the show. But first, we'd like to warm it up and say hello. Don't forget, cinema9pod@protonmail.com is the email. We have a Patreon that is live. And as Travis and Eric, my esteemed hosts, these guys have been doing the show since day one. All three of us have literally been doing the show since the beginning. I think that's a fact, right, Travis?
Indeed. Yes, this is true. We are the hosts, and this is our show. Fun facts coming at you quickly.
Wow, that's right. Hey, oh, watch out now. The Patreon is active. It's only as cheap as you want it to be, or as expensive as you want it to be. And you can find that link in our show notes, which we post in every podcast. It's patreon.com/something, and I probably should know what it is, but we'll
figure it out. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
How are you doing, Mike?
Well, that exists. What is today? Wednesday? Nice little Wednesday. Yeah, we're back on our regular schedule.
Yeah. It's the day after.
It's hot out today. Oh my God. So hot, Travis. Like you poor bastard.
The longest days of the year and the hottest days of the year. Like, fuck you, sun. Go away. I get up there, you're there. I go to bed, you're there. Ugh.
Why? Yeah, it's
not good.
You love it, Eric. Eric loves it.
I just got a pollen alert on my computer. What the hell is this?
Serious pollen. Look out. Pollen coming.
Malware and pollen. I got to update this thing.
I am so grateful, by the way. Like, I know some people in my life where they're like completely stuffed up and they sound so bad, but it's just allergies from that crap. And I'm not. It's so weird. It doesn't affect certain people. It majorly affects others. I'm so grateful that it doesn't affect me. Thank you. Oh, fictitious Lord. You've always been there for me when I needed you.
I work with people that like look like they're on death's door. I'm like, oh my God, you should have called in. It's just allergies.
That's why you take allergy medication. I was like 30 before it occurred to me, like, hey, maybe if I took allergy meds, during the fall and spring, I wouldn't get a runny nose and strep throat and make, because people just walk around like, it's just allergies. Like, well, take a fucking pill, genius.
Right?
That's funny though. I know somebody who takes the pills, the Claritin, like a daily 24-hour one, and sometimes it's still not enough, Travis. It's tough going out there, man.
Yeah.
With movie wise, got some fun movies. We do a show about film sometimes. It's called Cinema 9 Podcast.
What day is it?
Last week's show was about a movie that Eric selected, and it was a fascinating watch. I went back and listened to it. I kind of feel like maybe I was a little bit harsh on some of the people, and I just wanted to take this moment to be like, sometimes our opinions change, my opinions change, and I don't always feel the same way I do that day, which is fascinating because I would think it would kind of stick with the consistency, but it doesn't always work out that way for me. Sometimes I'm always locked in, but no retraction. Just I feel like I was a little harsh on some of the guys in the movie. That's all. Maybe a little harsh. So, no big deal. It's not a major...
Mercurial.
This is not a retraction. This is definitely not a retraction. Right. Okay. I stand behind what I said because the more I read about it after the fact, it's just ridiculous what they did. I got major beef with it. So
listen to that episode.
It's a very entertaining episode for sure. And it looked like people enjoyed it. I like you guys, and I like doing the show. No matter what happens, hopefully we'll be 65 and still being able to do this show. And hopefully by the time we're 65, the internet will be so fast we won't have to do anything. We'll just be laying in our beds and we could put avatars of ourselves in action while we're almost falling asleep. It'll be amazing.
You'll just be able to use telepathy to fast forward through sweet scenes of romance and Americana by actually having to hit the button.
I look forward to a future date where I could read a text and think about what I'm going to text, and it's actually sent, because very often, I compose the text in my mind, but it never actually gets sent. I don't type it out. I just I look at it and go, oh, okay. And I think about it, and then later on, I'm like, yeah, well, I answered that, but no, I didn't.
Then you got to verify what you're saying, because it'll be like, I don't want to fucking talk to this asshole. Then I'll send that.
What a dick.
Read my mind is what I'm saying.
King of the dicks.
King of the dicks.
I wanted to ask Travis about, there's a movie that's coming out. It's called Lightyear. It's a prequel.
It's out. It's not a prequel.
It's not a prequel?
Not exactly.
It's
It's a
already
very
come out and bombed.
bombed. I mean, it made $50 million. I don't know if that's a bomb. It's just underperformed what they expected. It's made its money back already. It's what it is. It's a movie based on a movie. I mean, it's not a prequel. It's the movie that Andy likes. It's Andy's favorite movie from Toy Story. It's where Buzz Lightyear comes from. So it's not exactly.
I thought you'd be excited about this.
I'm excited enough. I'm not going to run to theaters. I mean, I am going to run to theaters to see The Black Phone. I'm looking forward to that.
Dude.
I want to see that in theaters for sure. That's the only thing that's coming up that I'm going to. Oh, and I bought my new Thor 4 ticket yesterday too.
Oh boy! Yeah. I got to tell you, I happened to just innocently run into a commercial for Thor: Love and Thunder, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually coming out now, and I saw a few things in it where I was like, oh shit, I didn't even know that was happening. I didn't want to know because I was just kind of stuck there. Yeah. I didn't mean to be there. I was watching something that had nothing to do with movies, and it showed up.
You fucked up. You watched the preview. Now it's all ruined. Can't watch the movie now.
It was a 30-second teaser commercial. It wasn't even a trailer. It sucks. I got screwed on that. But
CGI muscles.
It did get me more motivated. Like, I want to see that one. I definitely want to be that in theaters.
I'm stoked.
Yeah. I'm stoked too. It did stoke me too, so I'll give it credit for that. But yeah, that's going to be fun. I just thought Lightyear was something that would be big for you, Travis, but it doesn't mean you love every animated film, so I shouldn't make that assumption.
I'll see it as soon as it's on Disney Plus. I'm just not going to rush out to theaters for it.
Yeah, 45-day window. It comes so quick. Like Doctor Strange 2 just hit Disney Plus today. I'm like, are you already?
Right? That's the same thing. I'm like, already?
Why aren't they trying to rake in more money? I don't get it.
I don't either.
This is the New World Order. The Batman was 45 days. Everything's 45 days now. That's it. This is probably going to be the new standard.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. It's just I'm not used to it yet.
For those of you that missed our Patreon on traveling, you might know that we spent a lot of time at home. So, it's good news for us. It's good news for us people at home. All right, well, let's get into the quarantine viewing picks. Travis Roy, you have control of the board on a Wednesday evening. What's cooking in your world?
Well, speaking of Marvel, I've watched the first 3 episodes of Miss Marvel, and I was a little underwhelmed at first, but I'm getting into it. I like it. It's good.
Oh.
It's I'm digging that one. And wrapped up Barry. Barry season 3 was just, edge of your seat finale. I
can't wait to watch it.
I cannot stress enough how fucking awesome Barry is. I know I've mentioned it on the show before, but it's just
waited years for this season. So I was like, when is this new season ever going to come out? And now I'm just going to binge it all the way straight through.
Well, it's all out, so you can watch it. The final episode has aired, so you can get on that.
I'm really, really excited. That first 2 seasons, I love that show. I'm with you. I thought Barry was a great show, and I was so excited for this season. So even though I wanted to watch them. Oh, it's even the best season. Woo!
I might have recency bias, but it's really good, and it's some of the best directing that Bill Hader has done. It's like, I want this. Seriously, speaking of Marvel, I'm like watching this season. I'm like, give this man like a Marvel movie or like a Mission Impossible movie. This guy can do action like nobody's business. He really is a strong director. Bill,
okay,
Bill.
That's very impressive words.
Yeah, I love him. I did watch some movies. The only new movie actually, I take that back. I watched 2 new movies from this year. Neither were that great. I watched Jerry and Marge Go Large. That was the new Paramount Plus movie with Bryan Cranston and Annette Bening, and it was, it was fine. I wouldn't recommend it. And I felt the same way about Spiderhead, the new Netflix movie with Chris Hemsworth. And Miles Teller, they took a premise, set it up, they wound it up, and then just let it play out the way you would expect it to. It was just completely like, well, here it is. This is the movie where it's an interesting premise, but then they just don't do a lot with it. And it's like, I do think Chris Hemsworth is not bad in it though. It's probably some of the, he's not a very convincing like scientist, but it's a different role for him. So I'll give him that. But mostly I wanted to watch, I don't know why I wanted to watch a bunch of movies I've seen before, none of which were particularly good. I watched Life Stinks. Didn't you watch that somewhat recently, Mike? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did. That's correct.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, okay. still kind of underwhelmed by it. I wanted to like it more than I did, which is how I felt all the way back in 91, I guess.
Wow. It's a good premise. It's a good premise for a film. It's just not that great, entertaining, funny.
It's not that great. I've long lived under the impression incorrectly that Short Circuit 2 was superior to Short Circuit 1, but having watched Short Circuit 1 not that long ago and then revisited Short Circuit 2 this weekend, Los Lobos does not kick your balls into outer space. I mean, it's got its moments, but it's all over the fucking place. I'm like, this really, it's like, find a plot and stick with it. I don't know. It's all over. It's not as good as the first one. Surprisingly enough, guys, hot take on 1988's Short Circuit 2 from Travis Roy right here.
Cowboy Johnny 5.
I revisited Blind Fury again from 1989. I think I watched it maybe 6 months ago. Never fucking gets old. Shit, fuck. I'm never gonna get sick of Blind Fury. Probably the best movie I watched this week.
Blind Fury.
Because the only other movie I watched this week besides Bull Durham was this movie I've been wanting to revisit for a long time. I kept on having this vision of my head of Tom Selleck and Kirstie Alley in a movie, and Kirstie Alley's like getting shot and or something, dying in a pool. And I'm like, what is this movie? Something about robots? Michael Crichton wrote and directed this movie called Runaway back in 1984, where like when Kirstie Alley and Tom Selleck were the top of the TV world, they did this bizarre science fiction movie that I'd seen that probably 2 or 3 times or more even when I was a kid, but I hadn't been since I was like a little kid that I watched this movie. And it's so funny to see like Tom Selleck very seriously like strap foam to himself and fight this plastic box on wheels. It's so funny in ways that weren't intended, but also kind of dull. So I'm gonna, again, hot take here. 1984's Runaway, not great, and those are the movies I watched. Kind of a week week.
Like little robots. What is this plot?
They're literally like a foot high. Like they're these plastic boxes, and they go out of control every now and then. And his job as a cop is to like get the runaway robots and put them down. But Gene fucking Simmons, of all people, is involved, and he's nefarious and like using the robots to do evil things. It's
sounds very 80s. Tom Selleck and robots.
It's so 80s.
Yeah, it does.
Any toxic waste reported?
No, Cynthia Rhodes is in it, and she looks amazing. But other than that, not much to see here.
Dude, speaking of amazing, I rewatched Forever Young, starring Mel Gibson and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Elijah Wood.
I've always loved Forever Young, like a really cool plot about like cryogenics, and like he wakes up like 50 years later.
George Wendt,
to find the love of his life. George Wendt tries to help him out. Yep.
I saw that in the theater, Eric.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater. I remember. Yeah, me and Matt Simiak saw it in the theater in 1993.
Serious Idiocracy, right? It's Idiocracy, but for grown-ups.
Is that the night you swung in his basement and broke your face open?
No, that was a year before that. Yeah, it was a couple months prior. I survived, and then my new brain wanted to watch Mel Gibson movies that were rom-coms and kind of thrillers related to cryogenics and the ticking of time in our humanity. I don't know why.
Niche genre.
Yeah. We don't know why we're attracted to the thing. Just like Bull Durham. We don't know why we're attracted to the things we're attracted to. We just do it.
Cryogenics were huge in the early 90s. Encino Man, Demolition Man, and Forever Young.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
You're right. Hot little run there for cryogenics.
Encino Mel. But yeah, I like the film. Brendan Fraser. I like the movie. Still holds up.
All right. No,
I did a double feature on my man Denzel Washington. So I watched Man on Fire from 2004.
I watched it recently.
Keep you in suspense. Yeah, I mean, it's such a bizarre movie, even for like Tony Scott's standards. It's like, what is this? Like, what is this?
It's he's trying to trigger some sort of like psychoactive response in the viewer by having the fastest edits of anyone in any film ever. That's what
of Tony Scott's movies. That's saying something.
It's it's like you're twitching out.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
wow.
Tony Scott on PCP.
It's like those two guys. Yeah.
Yes. Tony Scott on PCP.
It's like the Uncut Gems movie guys. Those guys, the Safdie brothers.
Yeah, Safdie brothers.
Maybe they're inspired by this. Maybe they were inspired by that. Who knows?
Honestly, that movie is a calm and easy Sunday ride compared to Man
compared
on
to this.
Fire.
Yep.
Holy
Like
cow!
like floating. Uncut Gems is like floating on a lazy river on an inner tube compared to Man on Fire, which is a cacophony of insane edits, like font on screen when there's not even like a foreign language being spoken, just so it will register with the viewer.
Wow.
What the fuck is this?
You know, there was a whole run there of those Denzel movies, Man on Fire, Deja Vu. There was like four of those over.
Then I watched
the one
another
about
one.
the train with Chris Pine. Oh, you did watch another one. Unstoppable.
Yeah, I watched Out of Time. This was Carl Franklin. Like I thought this for years. This was just another Tony Scott. Like get another action movie out there with Denzel. It's Carl Franklin, and believe it or not, a fine performance by Dean Cain. I was just as surprised as anyone.
Devil in a blue dress.
Eva
Carl
Mendes.
Franklin?
Sorry.
Devil in a blue dress, Carl Franklin.
Yeah, Devil in a blue dress, Carl Franklin.
Shout out to Brian, friend of the show. Yeah.
But the movie is just very like what somebody like owe somebody a favor. We have like a Simon Kinberg situation here because it's just like so dull. It's like, why is this a movie? It feels like a bad episode of a pilot to a series that would not get picked up.
Wow.
Can't recommend it, man.
Anything good?
I want to apologize. I want to apologize sincerely to Scott Cooper. Because I've been trashing Out of the Furnace since I walked out of the theater.
Dude,
what?
Recently watched it on Tubi. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Loved it.
Underrated.
I don't know what I was thinking. It's like I was surrounded by people. I got like popping popcorn, and it's this slow ass, very patient, delicate character
There were
study.
humans around me. I didn't care for that.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I know that feeling.
But the movie is fucking fantastic, and the takeaway is like, for me, it's really hard to like make villains seem dangerous. Like by now we're so used to just being like, oh, that's the bad guy. But like when I watch like Woody Harrelson as Harlan the Grove, like I'm scared of him. I'm scared of him watching a movie, and I know Woody, but like he's so good, and the direction is just so precise and patient and delicate. It's fucking fantastic character piece. Loved it.
You know, they did a great job in Dragged Over Concrete. Those guys scared the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good example I think of too. Like I think these guys are frightening and terrifying. But you're right.
It's hard to do, man, to make a villain feel like an actual threat and not just like, you know, whatever, the bad guy.
I remember when Out of the Furnace came out, I was like, oh, obvious Oscar contender. People are going to be all over this. It just fucking flopped and everyone hated it. I was like, oh, all right. I was wrong.
I never
about
saw it
that.
at the time. I only saw it last year. That was the first time I watched it. And I was like, wow, I'm so glad I waited, I guess. Maybe I would have not. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have liked it when it came out, but I was so impressed by the movie when I finally watched it.
Loved it. Willem Dafoe. Forrest Whitaker. Incredible. Is that Lastly? No, that's not Lastly. I finally got around to watching Bonfire of the Vanities. Like all my life. I'm 40, almost 42. All my life. Like one of the biggest disasters. We got a Heaven's Gate situation here, man. I hit play on Tubi. It's not bad. I mean, it's not bad. I don't give a fuck about Thomas Wolfe. Like, I'm not one of these people that are like, there's no way you could play Sherman. Or like, you fucked this book. It's a fine film. Like, I kind of liked it. I liked Brian De Palma's direction was fucking awesome. And all the performances were really good. What's the problem here?
I need to see it. I never saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, what I do know of it is that it was one of the earlier serious turns for Tom Hanks, other than, of course, Mazes and Monsters.
Of course.
Naturally.
Of course. Yeah, but no, like he's still really funny in it. He's just in a weird situation.
Yeah.
I actually recommend the film. Watch it on Tubi. Let me know what you think about Bonfire.
Now watch it on something other than Tubi?
Well, support it. And it's free.
There'd be no watching outside of Tubi.
Dude, that's it, man. The Obi-Wan finale was pretty fucking good. But
Oh, really?
Than that, it's 5 pretty bad episodes, but the finale was solid.
No, I tuned out. I'm like, I'm done.
Finish it up.
Oh, no. I haven't watched a single episode. Yeah, I don't even care. You guys all bum me out.
4 episodes, and I was like, and I felt after the 3rd episode, I was like, I should stop watching. Then I watched the 4th, I'm like, I should have stopped watching. So I stopped watching.
Yeah, I
It's
even
too little
talked
too
to
late, but it's a really good finale. But fuck it.
I'll
talked to a friend of the show, Star Wars fanatic James Andrews. He told me the show sucked too. So
yeah, I mean,
it's
it's
not
awful,
good.
but some great scenes in that last episode. That's it, man.
You know, by the way, there hasn't been. You know, we're going on close to 4 years soon with no new Star Wars movie at all. We've had shows, of course, plenty of shows, but we're still stuck with the memory.
It's been 4 years
Rise.
since Rise of Skywalker.
Well, it'll almost be 4 years. It depends how you look at time. It was 2019, but yeah,
Wow,
we're going
One more
on.
year.
Yeah.
Next year, Taika Waititi is bringing us back to the theaters.
He is?
Yeah.
It's official?
yeah,
Official.
yeah.
It's been production or it's rumored?
Greenlit. It's 2023
happening.
release date.
It's happening. Rogue Squadron will probably come out before that, though, don't we?
Patty,
think?
that canceled. They
Oh, is
pulled
it
the plug
canceled?
on Patty Jenkins'
Oh, I
film.
didn't
Yeah,
hear about
Pulled the
that.
plug.
Oh, that was a
It's over.
mistake, I think. All right. Well,
That's too bad.
I was kind of looking forward to that one, but all right. Maybe
No,
we'll get that Solo sequel I want. Who knows?
I
alone
saw
on that
Solo
one.
in theater. I kind of
I
enjoyed
liked
it.
it.
I did.
I
I
love
loved it in
Solo.
theaters.
I love
Wasn't
Solo.
The
terrible
only one in
by
the
any
theater,
means.
and I walked out like, "What is everyone's problem? This movie's
What's the
fun."
problem? That's classic. I mean, I'm always fucking wrong.
All three of us liked it? That's funny.
What's the
Okay,
problem?
wow.
I enjoyed the fuck out of Solo. I don't know. That's one of the few ones I'll revisit.
Yeah, that was
of
awesome.
recent ones.
Well, I live or die with Rogue One. I thought it was incredible.
of course. I mean,
And
yeah.
I thought Solo was good. So, yeah. Okay. I like these anthology movie ideas. I don't know why people... Who the fuck knows why these things change and where these opinions finally filter to the people who make the decisions on this shit? I don't really get it, but...
movie by committee, franchise by committee.
That's it, right there.
It'll
no
be a
plan.
Twitter poll.
Yeah.
Yeah, social media polls on the next decision.
Exactly. Well, you, Mike, watch anything?
Michael Govier watches film, the movie.
That sounds serious.
Michael Govier watches film, the movie. Yeah, I wonder what that would be like.
Govier on Govier.
Travis Roy watches movies, a film on Travis Roy watching film.
Roll on, roll.
I watched a few things. I did want to mention this, and just because I thought it was exciting, I got less responsive excitement from others who I mentioned it to. But Michael Mann wrote a novel called Heat 2, and it's coming out in August. It's written by him. It's called Heat 2, 1989 to 2000. So it's basically the whole novel is a prequel of the crew and everybody in Heat, and then what happened to the remainders after the movie ends. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's old news to me. It's been in the works for a long time, so I guess I've had time to process it. So I didn't really express enthusiasm when you texted us about it. But I'm also just like, I forgot how to read books after I did my comprehensive exams and my grad school. I'm just like, I'm done with. I can hardly fucking finish a book. So I'm probably not gonna read that. And I don't know, I tried reading the fucking Hollywood Once Upon a Time in
I
Hollywood
gave
thing.
up.
I gave that up.
I
Just
gave
like,
up. Even though I liked it, I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
this is
So
so weird.
weird.
I'm gonna set it down now.
But yeah, Michael
Aw.
Mann. I mean, Black Cat, Public Enemy, the stretch. I can just see him like, wow, what could I do? How about Heat 2? All right, I'll write it.
And also, Heat is literally, it's up there for me. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, hands down.
Top 10,
three.
hands down. Top 10 for
three.
sure for me.
And I just don't want it fucked with. I'll never forgive what Hal Hartley did with the Henry Fool
Oh.
series.
Oh.
Never forget. Some movies just don't need sequels. If you love a
Yeah,
movie
leave it
and you
alone.
see a sequel, it can really fucking poison that well. So yeah.
You never know, man. Wingro Rising. It could be,
Wingrow
incredible.
Rising.
Could be incredible.
Now that's a Disney Plus prequel I can get on board with.
Yeah, Wingrow Rising series? Straight
I
to
did-
series run.
I did see Faye Grimm.
Tom Holland as Wingrow.
I turned Faye Grimm off.
I watched Faye Grimm all the way through, and I was like,
Terrible.
oh, this is interesting. But is that the second or the third one? Because I
That's the
know
second
it's
one. That's the second
okay.
one.
No,
I
the
never
third
watched
one.
the third one.
Yeah, Ned Rifle was the third one. That's right. Okay.
I was
Yeah.
so angry. I mean, the first one, no spoilers, but it's a ambiguous ending, and the second one's like, well, here's how it ended.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
fuck
Big
you
time. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention. So there's two movies, that need to be added to the Ypsilanti dump watching. Henry Fool was also a part of the rotation with
Really was.
Rounders and
Yeah.
all the other movies we mentioned.
Henry-
Ravenous.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting. And
Deconstructing Harry.
we mentioned that before too. The two we had mentioned to me were Henry Fool and Roger Dodger. Those were others.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the rotation.
Fuck,
Yeah.
dude, that's on my short list. Come on
Yeah.
now.
I watched it recently.
I haven't watched it in years. It's definitely on my short list too, so it's not a secret, Eric. I don't think it's a secret.
I think it's on everyone's short list. I probably should watch. Secrets.
All those movies from that dump era are probably on the short list. I
The
mean,
dump
they were all-
era. This means nothing
Yeah.
to listeners, but what he's talking
What are you
about,
talking about?
is
Like,
the
they don't
dump
do a
era
dump
is a
and
period
found
when we-
movies?
yeah, it's a period when we lived together and watched a lot of the same movies. It doesn't involve bathrooms or garbage.
Not at all.
Well, I mean, there were bathrooms and garbage there.
It was a domicile. It was a shelter, a home.
It was a Dom's Donut
It was
style.
a home. I'm going to use that
It was
term loosely.
It was it had a roof and there was
There were walls.
there were a few walls and doors, carpet, maybe some carpet, I don't know, green couch, weird shit happened on. Who knows? All right, so yeah, I'm excited about that. I think I'm going to check it out and we'll see if a movie comes out of it or not. And I will admit freely, if they make a Heat 2 or any type of Heat thing, I'm going to check it out. So.
How do you young Vincent Hanna? Come on, dude.
I don't know if they'll do it right, but I'm going to check it out.
All right.
I'm going to check it out. That's the other thing, too. Al Pacino made that joke at the Tribeca Film Festival where they're promoting Heat 2 and De Niro and Pacino were on stage together, and he made that joke about Timothy Chalamet should play me. But it was a joke, but people took it seriously to mean that he really thought that should be the guy who take over the role of Vincent Hanna. That's just a fucking joke, of course. But
I mean, I don't think anyone could do it.
No. Shows you how that shit happens.
Pacino.
Yeah. Oh boy. Let's go back to the de-aging. Well, boy. Let's see. What else did I watch? I know I watched something. Of course, I didn't write it down, Travis. But
you fool!
What a man fool I am. I watched something that was good, but I can't remember what it is.
Is this entertaining?
Yeah. Are you enjoying this? Are
you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Damn it, I watched something that I had watched oh, there it is. I got it. I wrote it down. I did write it down.
All right.
Hey guys, this is a live show and we talk about film. So I watched Caddyshack II. Now, Caddyshack is a legendary, famous comedy from 1980, but Caddyshack II came out 8 years later and is on that list with Bonfires of the Vanities and Pluto Nash and all the like, with some of the biggest disasters, bombs ever. But when I was a kid, this so much of what you like is dictated about things that you have no control over. There was this VHS tape of Caddyshack 2 that somebody had made a copy of when they rented it from Blockbuster in 1989. So I saw that movie 50 times when I was a kid. I couldn't believe how much I knew of the film when I saw it on HBO Max. I'm like, oh my God, I know every word of this movie. How did this happen? And it's, it tries to do the same beats of the first one. It's a classic, let's do all the beats of the original, which we've seen many sequels do that and suck. And it's not great, but, Robert Stack replaces the bad guy as the rich asshole. And then you got Jackie Mason, who to this day, I still don't know where Jackie Mason came from. Where did he shows up in this movie, and I know that he was a comedian, but I never have seen anything of his outside of that movie. I really haven't. He plays the Rodney Dangerfield role of the original. So it's not good, but it was oddly comforting in that strange way of a movie that reminds you of a different time. So, not a ringing endorsement. I wouldn't say that. No. Pre lost his way, Randy Quaid. He's pretty funny in it. I will say that. So, and Marshall Winfield's in it. Warfield or Winfield?
I have no idea who that person is.
You don't know? You don't remember Night Court? Come on, she was the bailiff. She was the big tough bailiff. She was always deadpanning everything. She was funny. Yeah, Marshall Warfield. Really don't. Yeah. You don't know? Come on, Eric. You don't know Night Court?
I've never seen.
Get the hell out of here. You've never seen Night Court? What the fuck is wrong with you? What am I doing? Where am I?
Ready for that gritty Night Court reboot, though. Get out of here.
Yeah, seriously. No jokes. And Bull's like he's a police.
You know who Bull is, but you never saw the show? I'm confused.
Yeah, come on.
I know the characters.
Oh, you're just fucking
Bull's
with me. Okay.
Bull's doing coke in the bailiff's chambers or whatever.
Really? Is that real?
I don't know.
I would like to see that. I'd like to see that. So, I went back and watched.
Mann's writing it.
Michael Mann's working on the script.
Editing Man on Fire after he gets all that coke in him.
Oh, come on. I went back and watched the roundly criticized Wonder Woman 1984, and it's still as bad as it was when it came out.
So soon? How could you go bad to it so soon?
Well, I just want to make sure. It's been a little bit. It's been about a year plus now. It's been almost a year and a half, I feel like. That was 2020, I think it came out on streaming, and it's 2022 now. So
Christmas Day 2020. Right?
Yeah, it was bad. It's so bad.
Still laughing about Richard Mall as Bull on cocaine editing Men on Fire before he's kicked out of the editing suite.
Oh, no. Most of the cast has passed on, so no Marky Post. I don't think Harry, what's his face, is alive. Harry Anderson?
Harry Anderson.
Yeah, he died too, yeah. So
okay. Anyway.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Just John and what's her name?
Marsha Warfield?
Is that the woman with the bangs in the 80s hair? That's her name?
No, that's Marky Post. That's Marky Post.
That's Marky Post. She
She
passed?
passed. Yeah, she died recently, 70 years old. Marky Post, one of my all-time.
Yeah.
There's such a beautiful, talented woman. God, I had a major crush on Marky Post. What a Hall of Fame beauty she was. Good for you, Marky Post. Rest in power, and we miss you to this day. On the Marky Post Tribute Hour with Travis, Eric, and Michael Govier. And that's pretty much it. I watch a few other movies, but again, some of these are coming up as possibilities, and I cannot reveal them.
Every time.
Okay.
That's how it works.
I'm on a roll lately with that. I need to get back to watching some terrible shit or something. I don't know. Let me know. Give me some recommendations. I need to adjust my viewing habits. Short Circuit 2. It's been a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if you brought that to the show because I haven't seen that one in like 25, 30 years.
Yeah, watch Fisher Stevens shame himself.
Oh, so like from Wisconsin, like
But he's playing an Indian man named Ben.
I know.
Oh man, dude. Yeah.
Oh, that's rough.
Oh, that is a rough shit. All right. Well, that's what we've been watching. If you guys want to share what you've been watching, got any ideas for the show, even heck, bring them along. Cinema9pod at protonmail.com. And of course, we do love those 5-star reviews, don't we, guys?
Yeah.
Don't get too excited about it.
I don't want to see him beg, you know?
He's not begging.
You're going to rate us or you're not, you know? Do what you want
Really?
in your own time.
You don't think by reminding one person it might make a difference? I think it could. You never know who you're going to reach out there.
No, I want people to do it. I just don't want to bombard them, you know? It's like, we made our point. They know what we want. Let's get the Bull Durham.
I'm working on my passive aggression, so I'm just gonna not say anything.
Oh, look, good
I'm
for
going to say
you.
something later off air, saltily.
Oh, shit, dude. That's intense. So we did get an email, by the way.
That's exciting. I'm glad you check because I am the worst.
Yeah, well, it's actually looks like it's a request to maybe do a show. They're a TV trivia pod, so we'll have to talk about that afterwards. Interesting. So we'll talk about that, but we don't have any direct like, hey, we were thinking about this when we watched your show emails. That's been a while. If you want to make it happen, cinema9pod at protonmail.com. This week's movie for our Does It Hold Up section, where we dive into a movie, we break it down in detail for a good 45 minutes or so, is 1988's Bull Durham. Written and directed by a guy named Ron Shelton, who also did White Men Can't Jump.
Tin Cup?
Tin Cup? Like every sports movie you probably saw in a 10-year period, I think. Which is odd that he was still stuck in that way, but good for him. Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon, Tim Robbins, Robert Wool, some guy in a goofy hat who's famous in baseball circles for spitting in the air.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, the clown prince of baseball, Max Paquin?
Jesus.
Yeah. That guy is so annoying, but we'll talk about that.
What about was it Trey Wilson? Is that the guy that plays the guy that plays
from
the
Hot
coach?
Shots?
Can you believe that man is younger than us in that movie?
That's so weird.
Really?
He passed away right after he did that movie at 41.
Ooh.
That man was younger than any of us three when he did
bizarre.
Bull Durham, the guy that played the fucking man, the coach. My mind was utterly blown to come across. Like, this old fuck is younger than me.
It's so weird you say that because I read Kevin Costner was 33. I'm like, no, there's no way I'm older than Kevin Costner. There's no way.
Significantly.
So weird. So weird.
Yeah, I was thinking of the guy who plays Jimmy, who's also in Hot Shots. He plays the guy who is basically the goose sub.
Oh yeah, Bill O'Leary. Yeah, he's funny.
I didn't know that, Travis. That's interesting. Yeah, the manager is dead, and he died very young, but he is our age. Travis, he's younger than us, technically. Yes, Travis, take us back in time. Did you ever see Bull Durham?
I did. This is very much one of those movies that I have little recollection of, though. I mean, I watched it at home. We probably rented it with my mom or something, and I watched it when it came out, and I've not seen it since. So, I mean, like, I probably saw it at least. Yeah, well, I watched movies with my family growing up.
What?
But yeah, I like my family because we watch movies. Anyways,
weird.
I probably saw it another time as well, but it's definitely not one that I've seen many times. So it wasn't like seeing it for the first time, but it because I was like constantly being like, oh, I remember this. But if you'd asked me before sitting down to like describe the movie, I would have been Susan Sarandon sleeps with the people. With baseball.
Sleeps with the people.
This was definitely a movie where I was coming of age with my puberty, and I used to masturbate to. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, don't
Full
hold back.
disclosure.
It was like one of those early movies where I like saw a somewhat naked woman or some sexual stuff, and I was like, "Oh wow, this exists in the world."
This is like a Sears catalog kind of level of masturbation aid. I mean,
I know.
What are you finding of
JCPenney.
of carnal?
I gotta tell you,
value
man,
here.
this is Susan Sarandon. She just had something. She's a seductress in this movie. At least she plays one, and I was impressed by it at that age. I don't find that now. I certainly, in this viewing, I will tell you freely, that's over. But it was a time.
I can't imagine watching.
Imagine all the hormones I had,
20-minute long sex scene right alongside my mother.
I'm not saying I watched it with my mother necessarily. It's possible.
You certainly said it
There's a
directly, though.
20-minute
So
long-
it's already out there.
Long sex in this movie.
It's not
you.
that long. It's not that long. Come on, guys. Seriously.
No, dude, come on, baseball. I
Don't
don't
see
care about
expression.
baseball, and I don't like Susan Sarandon. There's no way I watched.
You don't like
until
Susan
this morning.
Sarandon?
No,
I didn't know this about you.
I've never cared about Susan Sarandon. She's always just seemed like she's always trying to be sexy, and yet she just looks like the principal at like my school or something.
Sexy and Southern.
Sexy and Southern.
That's her
True.
thing, right? Hi, I'm
Did you
sexy
get-
and Southern.
Did you get that vibe in the Sean Penn movie where she won an Academy Award? Same one, where she plays a nun?
The best film that she probably did, Dead Man Walking.
Dead Man Walking, thank you.
Great
Directed
performance.
by Tim Robbins, I believe, right?
Maybe that, there's a there's a Hollywood story related to this film. I think this relationship came out of this film. So
I thought that they were still together, but apparently they broke up like over a decade ago.
Really?
I thought that they were like
Robbins.
cool with it. Like they maybe weren't, they maybe saw other people, but they're like, we're just kind of cool and open. That's the vibe I got from them.
They divorced in 2009.
Okay. Well,
That's
that's
more than cool.
yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Good for you guys. If you're not happy with someone, break free.
That's
I'm
right.
all for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was in a VHS copy again, and it just kind of stumbled into me somewhere around 91 and 94, somewhere there. And I originally saw it as a baseball movie with a lot of swearing. I was like, oh, whoa, cool.
Yeah, I was surprised. A lot of
Yeah.
fucks.
A lot of fucks. There's a
A lot of pussies.
Fuck this fucking game.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner has the least convincing use of profanity of anyone in
Oh my
film history.
God!
Is he
I'm
mad?
so glad
Is
you
this a
brought this
joke?
up.
What is this?
I
I'm so
believe
glad
the
you brought this
soul,
up.
The pussy, the cock.
The cock
Like,
and
dude,
the
this
pussy.
is so awkward.
It did sound so.
That's the
I
thing.
completely agree with you.
I've seen so many like retrospectives where like the great movie speeches. I'm like, oh, that one about the long kisses? No, it starts with like these nasty, vulgar.
Yeah.
What is this?
He believes
Yeah.
that Lee Harvey Oswald or
Believes in the cock and the pussy.
He did
And
JFK
Harvey
3 years
Oswald.
later. Very
Right.
weird.
That's funny.
That's so funny you said that, Travis, because when I watched this movie again for the first time in a while for this show, which we're doing right now,
we are.
I noticed when the first swear word came out of his mouth when he shows up in the office, his first scene,
Right.
and I was like, whoa, is this bad acting? Is this
So false.
just not for Kevin Costner? Is it me?
It's so
'Cause
false.
He's supposed to be a vulgar veteran catcher. Imagine a guy with like more wrinkles on his face and like a little bit more of a haggard look. I know he tries to be classy. That's part of this vibe with his character too. Is like it's about image and all that shit. He's hard on that, but I agree with you. I had the exact same response. Weird.
Yeah, Crash Davis is a problematic main character.
Is he?
Am I missing something? What am I? Oh, the movie Crash. Is that what you're? Are you making a joke about Crash?
No,
movie?
Crash Davis, as portrayed by Kevin Costner.
The actual Crash, because Crash Davis is a real person.
Is it?
Yeah, there was a real Crash Davis that wasn't this Crash Davis. There was this other guy who played for Bull Durham, came back from World War II, and was in the little leagues in Bull Durham and kind of bounced around a little bit. His name was Crash Davis, and that was it.
Little leagues.
And like he had that, and like that's it. And then his name got used for this character because you couldn't come up with a name that's not someone who was alive, I guess. And he was still alive when this movie came out, so he was like, yeah, and he like became buddies with Ron Shelton, I guess.
Wow.
No, with the writer. I don't think Shelton wrote it, but
He did wrote. He wrote it and directed it. You're right. Yep.
Okay, so he became buddies with Ron Shelton after the fact. Like I'm like, why? Okay, well, like maybe he just wanted to get buddy with the real Crash Davis. I don't know.
Oh, so this is quick on this point too. Ron Shelton also did a terrible movie called Cobb, starring Tommy Lee Jones
Cobb.
about
Yeah,
Ty Cobb, who actually wasn't the racist that he's been portrayed because there was this art.
Oh, really?
The story. There's a quick story about this. A guy named Al Stump wrote a book about Ty Cobb in I think the 70s, and it was a fucking lie, the whole thing. So the movie Cobb this was found out after the fact. The movie Cobb's based on Al Stump and Ty Cobb's experience together when Stump wrote that book about him. And it turns out that Stump and admitted this, that he'd made up all this stuff about Cobb being a racist and all this exaggerated stuff in his life, which
really?
I lived up. I grew up knowing that, I'm like, Cobb's a racist. I always knew that growing up, but it turns out
they were pulling down statues and stuff.
That's the same thing with Marilyn Monroe. You ask anybody about Marilyn Monroe, and like the only thing they know is that she fucked JFK. It's like, yeah, well, there was one asshole who wrote one book because he was mad that she wouldn't sleep with him, so he put a lie in it that people are still believing decades upon decades.
Oh my God. That's a good
Is it a lie that Ron Shelton also directed Hollywood Homicide?
With Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that flopped hard.
Yeah, I think his career kind of fell apart. In fact, I don't even know if Ron Shelton's still alive, frankly.
Just getting started with Morgan Freeman, like Renee Rue's, like fogies comedy. Like,
dear.
It's kind of petered off. What happens with directors? They have a good run. He ran out of the sports to make movies about, and that was
that's it. There's only so many sports in the world.
Ping pong? Nope. Balls of Fury. Fuck. I'm out.
That is funny. By the way, Ron Shelton is still alive. He was born in 1945, just for clarity's sake.
Right. So he plays for the Baltimore Orioles in like as a kid. Mike, is this true?
Wow, I didn't know that either. You guys are really blowing my mind with this incredible knowledge. I didn't know there was a real Crash Davis, and I didn't know that.
I read the Wikipedia article.
I read a couple articles, but they said he was like at a I don't even know what my minor league baseball is, but they said like he was on like some baseball farm or something for the Orioles. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know anything about sports.
Do you guys know what that is? Do you know what minor league baseball is, Travis?
Yes, I know what minor league is. What I didn't know is that people gave a shit about it. I thought this was something that just like the players' families showed up for. I'm like, what? Why do these people give a fuck?
Yeah, like Lansing Lugnuts. That's all I know.
Money for this?
Yep. That's it.
That's so funny. Oh my God. I was watching this movie and I was thinking about the both of you. I'm like, oh my God, there's like even the opening, there's all these baseball photos of people and it's like
the greats.
I saw Pete Rose.
Okay, you got Pete Rose. Did you get anything else from that? You got Babe Ruth, maybe.
Babe Ruth.
There was a black person in that mix, as we heard. It was all these white bodies with this black voice going over it. Then there's one black person, and there's one black person with a speaking part in the whole movie.
Like, that's funny. Okay. It's funny because I actually did watch a documentary on Kurt Flood a few days ago before I watched this. So. Yeah,
that's useful.
What is it a big deal? Like, I'm the same way. I thought it was literally like sponsored by like the local grocery store, and like
it is. I mean, it still is, but it's more than This is so funny. This is the funniest thing I've heard in a while. There's more than the family members. It is in these regional places.
Okay, are there fucking groupies? Are there groupies for these things?
Groupies.
I bet there are. Yeah, that's actually not that ridiculous. There's people who, because some of these guys are passing through that. So the idea of Nuke LaLoosh, played by Tim Robbins, is that's a real deal. Like a guy who gets a big contract and he has to start in the minor leagues before he gets to the majors, and so all this stuff is. Yeah, he's pretty formulaic and typical. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Eric and I are obviously not the experts on the sports. That's your thing.
Right. That's fine.
But I've seen enough movies. I know what the show is. You know, I know how it works.
I know you know that. Yeah.
I've seen Mr. Baseball many times.
Do you have to be able to pitch to even get into this league? Like, what is this play? Like, like he can't play, and he's like really dumb. Like, what is this?
So
how is he even in this? Let alone getting drafted into the major league.
It's over the top. This is where it starts, Eric. So the farm system is what they call minor league baseball, and then that's what. And these are big deals in these local towns where there aren't major league teams like West Virginia, like Iowa. You know, it's all they got. Yeah, well, that's all they got even in their states. There's some states have zero major league like franchises for football, baseball, basketball, whatever. So I would think it's authentic, and I would say it's fair that how the movie represents this local team as being like everyone's into it. That does exist. Like you could actually get in the biggest minor league stadiums 10,000 people to show up to games. That would happen. So just for reality's
what about the critics?
Yeah, what do the critics say? Well, what's the rating on this movie? Because I did not look it up. I'm dying to know.
I did.
So I didn't look it up. My guess is that I know this is a highly beloved movie. I mean, like this is, for men of a certain age, Male Fantasy the movie is quite. They have a real strong affection for this movie about baseball and the women who fuck people who play baseball.
There it is.
I'm going to say it's an 8. I think people love it. I'm going to say it's an 8.
Although the movie does start off with her being a very strong woman character. Take responsibility for your own actions. That's right.
Okay, yeah.
All right, we can argue about that. I'm going to say, yeah, people love this movie, especially baseball people, and you're right, dudes, and anybody who lived during this age, and maybe after the fact when they got to know the game of baseball, they're like, oh, wow, this movie's amazing, and it's pretty authentic. So I'll say it's a 7.4.
Yeah, 7.0.
Oh,
okay.
All right, that is lower than I would have guessed. I mean, this is in a lot of people's top lists for years, but maybe it doesn't have quite the draw that it did in the 90s and 2000s or something.
Yeah, the panache. Yeah, that's true.
For years, people talked about it all the time, but less and less do you hear about it.
Right.
Yeah, it has subsided a bit. That's fair. So that would maybe have to do with today's modern culture. Critics gave it a 97. Another movie. That's back-to-back weeks, by the way. Literally 97 scores. So that's impressive. And it's impressive as well being odd. 82% for the audience. That is odd. 82%, 97. So a slight variation from the critics and the audience as far as what... Yeah, I'll tell you what. The critics had plenty to say about this, and we're hoping to hear from Destin Thompson in this one.
A little early, I think, for him.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he watched it after the fact. Who can say about these things?
We can hope.
We got Carrie Rickey from the Philadelphia Inquirer. She watched it in 2013 and just decided to comment on it. Screwball Annie and Hardball Crash aren't playing the same game, which is Shelton's conceit as well as a possible screenwriting miscalculation. 3 out of 4 stars?
This is why we like Destin Thompson. I mean, he's his bites are like palatable. They make
brevity,
sense.
yes.
Right? His concision,
so valuable. Yeah,
that I guess she had some complaints, but I feel like I need to read the whole review to make sense of how she really felt. 3 out of 4 though is like she thought it was okay. She gave it a C.
It's a red tomato, no doubt about it. Screwball. Yeah, there was always Hot Cock Annie, the Frogs. That's a classic tune, by the way.
Oh, classic.
Into the Frogs. Yeah.
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry.
Piece of pheasant.
Believe it or not, Gene Siskel was in his prime when this movie came out. Gene Siskel said this. Oh, Gene. Eves and Gene. The acting in Bull Durham cannot be faulted. Really? Okay. And
Fuck
should be
this fucking game.
The cock. The
And
pussy.
It should be remembered. Wow. Oh, let me read this again. The acting in Bull Durham cannot be faulted and should be remembered at Oscar time. Sarandon has one of the juiciest female roles in years, and she makes you think no one could play it better. I actually agree with that part, but not the first part. Wow. Okay.
I can't imagine anyone from the time playing this as well as her. Maybe Ellen Barkin. I could see her.
Ooh, good
playing
call.
it.
Actually sexy and funny.
Oh man,
She's great. Ellen Barkin was great, but this was a breakthrough role for Susan.
It was, yeah. Unfortunately, Ellen Barkin's been reduced to being a witness in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. Which
true. I saw that testimony.
She deserves more than that.
She's popped up in some other stuff recently. I feel like I saw her in a couple things. She's working still.
I saw her in the Third Oceans
Eyes
thing
weren't
like
big
10
enough.
years ago, 13 years ago. I don't know.
Anyway.
No Goody Koontz. I'm not seeing any Destin Thompson. We got Ebes again, so we're doing Ebes. We do have a Destin coming up. Stand by.
Wow.
Oh, wow. All right.
1988, reporting from his 5th grade yearbook editorial page.
Precocious Destin Thompson scrawling in his notebook a review for Bull Durham.
Well, Roger Ebert said, Bull Durham is a treasure of a movie because it knows so much about baseball and so little about love. Okay. Destin Thompson. Destin Thompson wrote this. Now, this means that maybe whenever Destin Thompson broke into the critical game, which do we know exactly when he very first came into the game? Do we know this?
I don't think we know this. I believe it's the late 90s.
90s? Okay, good. Well, that would make a lot of sense because the date on this is January 1, 2000, which is the earliest date you'll ever see on these because that's when the website started, I think, which I don't get why that is, but
possible.
Whatever. Destin Thompson said, writer-director Ron Shelton lobs juicy lines to players Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon, and Tim Robbins, and they all hit home.
Okay. I think that there is one of the strongest things about this movie for me was intermittent dialogue, which is to say not all the dialogue. Some of it I think falls very flat, but I think there's some real gems. There's some great gems in this for sure.
Oh, Oh, so there's a couple lines you enjoyed.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There are things about this movie I enjoyed. Absolutely.
Okay, so we talked about Sarandon, we've talked about Costner. How about Tim Robbins in this role? I think he does a splendid job as a innocent youngster who's gifted with a lot of talent, who just is oblivious because he's also been handed a lot of things on a silver platter in a way. And I think I really enjoy him in this role. It's not the most important character by any means, but he's really important to the overall story.
I think he plays it well. I think that he was 29 or 30 or so when he filmed this, so
really?
He was really close in age to Kevin Costner, but he's playing it much younger, while Costner seems to be playing a little bit older. And yeah, he definitely was it $1 million arm and a 5-cent head. He convinces me that he does that. What is his line? It's totally awesome or totally tubular in a rag kind of way.
Yeah, it's really out there, man. It's out there.
It's out there. Yeah, he's a goof magoof. He's a goof.
It's like if Happy Gilmore was written into like, I don't know, like Body Heat or 9.5 Weeks. It's like such a bizarre character tossed into this. That's the thing. It's not even like a romantic comedy because it's not romantic. It's sexy.
A hard R.
But and then Goof Robbins pops in. It's like very odd screenplay, which was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, but it's a very odd script. And Tim Robbins
was nominated?
Yeah, nominated for Best Original Screenplay. Tim Robbins does good things with the character he's given. I'd be curious to see how much he added and how much was Ronnie Shelton. But yeah, I got no problems with that performance.
It's so funny to me that Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins ended up together, making this, because watching the movie, I'm like, I don't buy these two together at all. I'm like, but of course they're just the characters they're playing, not the human beings that they are. But also, looking behind Mike, if you're watching this live on YouTube or later on YouTube, I guess the poster for this movie is Susan Sarandon draped like a mink around Kevin Costner. So it really kind of sucks any drama out of that. The love triangle that they have, because you're like, well, I know that they end up together because that's the picture I've seen associated with this movie a million times, is them two together, not the three of them together.
It's true. I mean,
minor complaint.
I don't think they're really trying to. Yeah, it's not a priority for them. So I want to go back to it. I really do think that this is a great character for the time, especially in 1988. Susan Sarandon's character, Annie, she is an independent character. You called it out earlier saying that the players that fuck them, I think somebody said something about that, a movie about the baseball players and the women that fuck them. Did someone say that?
That is exactly. That's what the movie starts off. She says, two things that are never boring are sex and baseball, which is funny.
Yeah.
And then she talks, then she explains that every season she fucks one of them for a while.
Right. 142 games, and they get a lifetime of success.
They have the best season of their lives, and she's like this baseball muse, but she does it with her body. And there's this other.
No. That's where I disagree.
Okay, well, you're right. She does. You're right to disagree, because she offers all kinds of tips to both Crash and Nuke, and some of it's fucking flaming bullshit, but some of it is legitimate. A lot of
Reads
it is
Walt
bullshit.
Whitman to Nuke tied up. I mean, hell, you get she's also this whole concept. This is why I guess I like the character a lot. Is it's not wrapped up in these religious things. She rejects Judeo-Christian ethics and the thought process. Yeah, I love that. I thought that was great. And it was like, this woman is into metaphysics and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is refreshing. This is a little bit different, especially for its time, I felt like. I know it's 30 plus years ago.
You're right, for its time. But to counter that, we do have the Christian dude who ends up marrying the other baseball groupie. And
Lily.
Taming her. And then, at the end of the movie, her Annie and Crash end up together too, and she's out of that lifestyle now. So we're I get what you're saying, but there's also some kind of gender conforming stuff that's happening in here. But at the same time, one of the things that really threw me for a loop at the end of the movie is when to get to the end of the movie early is when we see the switch that she's tied up to the bedpost instead of where she had tied Nuke. to the bedpost. Crash ties her to the bedpost. I'm like, oh, yep, reconfirming. And then you get to the end of her feet, and he's painting her toenails. I'm like, okay, that's actually really awesome. So it's not as cut and dried as I want it, as I'm kind of presenting it to be. I think that there is some kind of like some male fantasy shit that's happening here, but I agree. I think that there is some rich stuff happening with this character. It's not black and white, and that she does have some real nuance to her that is unexpected for 1988.
I think that's well said. Everything you said there, I can get on board with all that.
All right.
Eric, you've been quiet. Time to say something. Go ahead, let it out, man. I know you're
Let's
pissed.
move on to the next subject.
Come on, you're pissed. Let it out.
You don't like Susan Sarandon in this. You already said you don't like Susan Sarandon.
I can picture like Gloria Steinem smashing her head against our theater seat. Like the first the time she meets these two guys, they're both just like openly talking about which one's going to be able to fuck her before she hardly says anything. It's like I don't understand this.
But that's what athletes do. Let's not bullshit. Let's not live in a fantasy world either. These athletes, whether it's cool or not, they're allowed this lifestyle.
I don't understand how this is empowering, or is it? Like, is this empowering women because she's choosing who she's going to randomly sleep with, use, and, like, manipulate for this entire season? Like, I don't really get this character's motivation.
The movie's not interested in doing that, is it? It's not. I mean, like,
what is her motivation here?
She says
the church
baseball's a religion to her. It's a religion. She's replaced everything else. She tried it all. This is the one. She lights candles around baseball gloves and a bunch of baseball paraphernalia.
Fucking organ doing the church music. Oh, God.
A lot of that in this movie. Tons of organ in this film.
So we like this Annie Savoy character because she fucks someone she doesn't really respect that much while also
she didn't say that. She said he's inexperienced. She admits, hey, when her and Crash are doing that batting practice scene at the batting cages, he's like, what do you see in this guy? And everything he says, she counters with, well, he's inexperienced. He doesn't know any better yet. It doesn't mean he's a moron. And that rang true to me. I'm like, okay, that's reasonable.
This is like why I dislike Splash, because he takes advantage of a woman who's literally a fish out of water just because she's fucking hot. I see this woman as taking advantage of people's to get what she wants out of their bodies, and it's ugly to me. I don't get why this is supposed to be like so like whatever. It's yucky to me. I don't get this.
Oh, well, I think that like sex outside of marriage is okay, so I don't have a problem.
Me neither. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about using people. But she's giving something back to them.
She's very upfront about it. She lets them know that this is how it goes. We're going to break up at the end of the season. And when her and Tim Robbins, like, he doesn't even get mad that they don't bone one last time. He just hugs her because this is the end, and he knows it. And that's always been the arrangement. Which that's consent, baby. That's upfront. That's talk. I'm on board with that.
That's minor league baseball. You come and you go. She's seen them every season. Then they all get the deal at the end. Maybe not initially, but at the end, I think it's all understood by all parties.
And she does give something back to them in that they all walk away. Because, I mean, again, I'm not 100% crazy about the character. I'm not. I think that there's a lot of ways that she's mishandled, and I've already kind of addressed that. But I do think that she knows a thing or two about baseball, clearly, and she's able to give them tips. I don't like the fucking chakra shit and you're breathing through your eyelids shit. Like, that's stupid. but she's able to give practical advice to all of them, and kind of make them learn to trust, their instincts and trust their own talents. So that's I disagree that she's like some sort of user. I think that's probably going both ways.
She's like more like a conduit for their success, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. I that's one of the problems I do have with her. Like, we get this little glimpse that she's a adjunct professor at a community college, and like, okay, but like clearly her life is about others. It's all about others and like baseball.
Well, that's why when her and Crash end up together, that Crash is at the end of his career. He knows it. And maybe she's at the end of this thing she's been doing. Some of the things that Crash says about her maybe are true, that she does avoid more meaningful, deeper connections because it's easier to do this stuff. Stray dogs and strays and shit, people that need to be tamed or to be provided shelter and all that shit. But we're talking about that a lot. What is this movie funny at all?
Not particularly. So it's to invade on the silence.
There we go.
I'm watching the movie like when he does the whole rain delay thing, and they like spray the and they're like playing in the mud. I'm like, I think I'm supposed to be like really into this, like, and be like, oh, look at them, they're rapscallions. But I was just like, grown man in the mud, that would hurt. What are you doing?
Oh yeah. Slip and slide hijinks.
Right.
Yeah, bizarre.
So I didn't laugh that much at the movie. No, I do think there's a lot of clever moments, but
I don't know, Mike. Like, do you have to like really like the term, like the nomenclature and like the bullpen, like the guys, like the what do they call it? Lollygag and all that stuff? Like, do you really have to like this like locker room, like grab assing to like be laughing, or what is this?
Yeah, I wondered, do you have to know certain things about baseball to find it funny or not? And some of the stuff is really, the term inside baseball comes from that. And I think upon watching it this time, I do realize if you don't know certain things, it's not going to be known to you what's so unique or funny or clever about certain things. I think that's fair to say. Like, it's not even funny anymore. The whole thing about having to talk in cliches was being a universal thing for all athletes.
Yeah, I got that. This wasn't
that's not funny. There's the thing when Crash talks about being in the show for 21 days, all that stuff generally is true. I mean, and it's not funny, but it's told in a way where you're like, wow, I could see why people yearn for it so much and they want it. But when you look around and you watch this movie, I think one of the funny parts is the mound visit where they start talking about the wedding gifts.
Funny.
I thought that was funny.
Probably the funniest part of the movie.
It just wasn't as funny to me this time either. I agree with you guys. And there's some cool moments and shots, like when they first meet and he throws that baseball by his head and he doesn't flinch. Yeah. I love that. You're not going to get hit because it's acting, but still, he doesn't even move. And I'm like, that's a cool shot.
Couldn't hit water if you fell out of a fucking boat. It's a great line.
That's right. Meat.
Yeah.
So I was entertained throughout, but I wasn't like laughing at it. But not in a bad way. I mean, I was amused. I just wasn't. In case you didn't know what laughing.
Is that you? Yeah, that's you, right?
I laughed when Crash was yelling at that umpire, and that's the thing. I think there's circumstantial laughs in here, but like the jokes seem very dated. In fact, the whole movie kind of seems dated because Ron Shelton writes this based on his experience at this Orioles farm
in the 60s.
We do have like this doo-wop soundtrack. We've got like these kind of like categorically dated costumes and stuff, especially with like Annie. She's dressed like fucking Betty Davis.
Right.
Like it feels very, very dated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you're right about that. Some of the best parts of the movie that are funny to me are the ones that actually happen on the field when Crash has that monologue going through his head and he's trying to hit. And
I do like
some of that
those
stuff.
I like
that
those
was like
monologues. Those were cool.
Yeah. That was well done. That's like, wow, that's probably what would happen. So maybe in some respects, I see this movie as an authentic experience to a certain extent, but a dated one now because even these minor league systems have shrunk and been reduced, and there's just things that have changed, but it's minor details. As an entertainment piece, I wonder what Kurt Russell would have been like if he had gotten this role instead of Kevin Costner, and those fucks and all that stuff may have come across a lot more direct and meaningful, and like, I find that believable.
I mean, Kurt Russell can swear. We know that he can spit out a swear word. It's convincing.
Old Jack Burton could swear the best of them, no doubt about it.
Have you guys watched Yellowstone? I mean, I understand there's a lot of profanity in this, and I'm watching Kevin again to get on this, but I'm watching Kevin Costner in this movie. I'm like, does he swear in Yellowstone? Because people like Yellowstone. Do they believe that he's sweering? Or
he's a lot older too, and he looks more grizzled. He's starting to get older now. Maybe it looks a little bit more real now because he's so much older. I don't know. I've never seen it.
I've seen a few episodes, and I was liking what I'm seeing. It's Taylor Sheridan, so you're going to have great dialogue in there, and Costner can deliver great dialogue. But someone like Kurt Russell, he can be a prick like Jack Burton and still be like super fun to watch and enjoyable. Like Crash Davis, like from minute one to the closing of the film, just seemed like a dickhead to me. Like I was like, this is probably why I don't like sports and I don't connect with a lot of athletes, because this guy just seems like a fucking self-serving jerk.
The ball boy comes up to him and says, hit one. Crash, and he's like, shut up.
Yeah, I'm like, is this part of an arc? Like, is he going to gain like some respect for this passionate American fucking pastime? No, it's kind of like that's him. You gotta like it.
Yeah, it is kind of self-serving.
Fuck
I mean, he gets fired, so he goes back and joins another team until he gets his home run, and then leaves that team high and dry. Like, okay, but I mean, maybe that's part of the baseball scene too, right? Is that this
totally is
ego-driven?
Why
like,
is this authentic? Like, why is this authentic baseball movie? Like, what's going on here that I haven't seen in Major League or The Natural or?
Well, The Natural is not authentic at all. It's just more enjoyable. It's entertaining,
right,
maybe.
Right. So what
we
is
haven't
this
done that
doing?
movie. I don't know.
Like, what's going on here? Like, is this how it really is in baseball, and why?
It was at a time, in the minor leagues. Yeah, the Nuke Luce character, they're given the keys of the kingdom, and because they want them to succeed if they're the highest of the highest athlete, and they want everyone else to sacrifice at the altar of that person. And the Kevin Costner, the Crash Davis character, who gets 21 days in the big leagues, the rest of his career, he wishes he was quite good enough. Baseball is littered with these guys who are all very, very talented, but to be in the show, they're often called quad A guys because triple A is the highest point of the minor league. There's a lot of guys who they could be okay or like average in the major leagues, but they don't quite have enough to get there. And they're stuck in this world, and everybody wants that. And they don't get paid shit. Like major league players get paid for real, but everybody else in the minor league system gets shit on, and their lives are hard. And actually, this is totally random, but it's actually happened today. I was talking to a friend of mine because he works in that realm, and there's this thing called Adopt a Minor Leaguer where they're so screwed over. They not even provided like basic food or enough money to even eat for a week today. So that's a fact. That's the problem. They don't have time, right? Yeah. So it's like all those, the guy who gets cut in the end of the era for people, and the way that Crash Davis responds when he's supposed to play in this shithole Carolina League too, and he says, "I quit." And then comes back in a second later. And those two other guys, the coach and Robert Wool, they don't move at all because they know this is how everyone responds. You get pissed about where you are, but it's still better than working at Sears. So that is authentic.
It's depressing. It's depressing to think like this is a whole realm where if you're good, you've got to be great or else you're stuck there.
Yes.
And
there's a chattel-like aspect to it. Like you're not,
let's just throw that word.
Well, you're not human. Like you're not really thought of as a human being. You're thought of as a product with an end result.
So when slavery.
No, not slavery, but like animals coming in. Did I say chattel or cattle?
You said
I didn't mean
chattel. You did not say cattle.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I meant cattle. I meant cattle. I meant like you're coming through and you go. Sorry. Next up? It's just this farm system of endless people who are looked at for their services, not for who they are as human beings, because they don't give a fuck about that. And that is very much a real and harsh aspect, unfortunately. That's always been the case with professional sports as a whole. What do you do for me? You suck now. Bye-bye.
Well, Annie seems to see them as people, which I guess is one of the reasons why she's there. And in our movie, I am interested in the way that like Crash talks to her, and how sometimes it's like this forceful kind of like truth that she's clearly not been wanting to address. I think Sarandon does a great job of like showing us when those words are hitting her. Like you can see it in her face. That's it's not exactly hurting her feelings. It's just reverberating. Mm-hmm. But then there are also times where I'm like, he's such a confusing dick. Like she asked him to dance and he's like, no. Then he's like, yes, I do want to dance, which they do a good job of like coming back to the dance and making that like a thing. Because by the end of the movie, they're dancing together, and that's how the movie, ends up. So like they do a nice book ending with that. But like it is kind of like, okay, he's the one guy that comes along that's not throwing himself at her, that's not impressed by her big words, and so she's into him. And it's like, okay, that's always a little like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
he's also sending a message to her that says, "I want to fuck you sometime." Like,
yes,
it's not exactly like a sweet courting.
And this, because you're right, this is there's some romantic elements here, but it's not exactly a traditional romance by any stretch, which is maybe part of its charm. That
I agree. That's how I see it. Yeah, I'm with you there.
That trend.
Not that you agree with it. But
no. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a strength that this isn't predictable. Other than Annie and him getting together, that's extremely predictable. But
Yeah.
when he leaves at the end of the movie and leaves her a note and an apple and stuff, I'm like, well, fuck, I didn't see that coming. Like there is some stuff that like surprises me in this movie, which is surprising.
I don't
I
like
was
tropes,
very
as you know,
surprised.
so I like that.
I was very surprised by the fact that like the catcher also can like go up to bat. This is how little I know about baseball. I thought the catcher just caught and he had that like face mask on. That's all he did.
Oh, you caught it. Now get back in your fucking hole.
That's
Wait.
right. That's exactly what I thought.
Man, this is so funny.
But
Wow. Okay.
like the catcher being the mentor to a pitcher, like he's not a legendary pitcher, is he? Like,
No, this is
is this established?
Yeah, this is a relationship between the catcher and the pitcher because they throw to each other the most. Obviously, he catches the pitcher.
The battery. It's the battery.
Yes, that's right. Very good, Travis. Look at you,
Battery.
my man.
Good battery.
And, yeah, they're the battery. And so, and in fact, another random factoid is that most catchers are a lot of managers. Yeah, it was a good movie. A lot of managers end up being former catchers. They're seen as the most cerebral, the most aware because they have so much to be thinking about in the game too. Just a
watching
So-
more than everybody else. That makes sense.
yeah, exactly.
Indulge me here because we rarely get to talk sports on this podcast. Like when the
true.
catcher suggests, like with like 1, 2, or 3, like what the pitcher should do, like what is it? Like what does he see that the pitcher can't see?
It's his own experience and opinion. It's all situational based on the count and how many balls and strikes there are and how many runs they're down or if they're up or not. And then that he makes the choices offering him 1, 2, or 3, which are usually 3 different pitches. And the fact that they argue about it is probably, that's just ego driven by Crash Davis's character because he wants to teach this kid a lesson. So when he tells he's like, all right, I want to pronounce my presence with authority. And he throws the fastball and the Kevin Costner's character, Crash, tells the guy.
Every time I've seen a baseball movie, the catcher's like 1, the pitcher's like no, 1, no, you fuck.
That does seem to be like the whole thing about the movie is maturing nuke means like submit to authority, submit to what whoever's telling you, whatever bullshit it is, submit.
Don't tell the truth, talking cliches. Exactly.
Right.
You're right.
But it's still very dated. Hit on the reporter, you're canceled, bro. You can't do that nowadays. Like even his big speech at the end, like that wouldn't be the advice.
That's fair. You're
I'm
right.
sure that there's no reporters that ever get hit on in sports.
Yeah, that would never happen. No workplace romances anymore. Not that they're actual workplaces, but I mean, if you're on the road with a team all year long and you get to know somebody, something could happen. I'm not condoning it or not, but we also get hardcore about that shit. So
speaking of, how about the road game montage? Hey, it's a baseball movie, but I have a road game montage in there.
You're damn right there is. You got Life on the Road on the bus. It's all good. He's got the Iron Maiden shirt on too. That was cool.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Did this spawn more baseball movies? I remember like 8 Man Out.
The next year, Costner had Field of Dreams, of course, and Major League came out the next year. Ron Shelton came right back the next year. So,
Mr. Baseball was 91, I think.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
what else
there wasn't. I mean, but you'd seen The Natural in '84 and Bull Durham in '88. So I don't know if those it's probably the case there.
Dude, I'm a for love of the game fan. I've seen that a few times.
Oh God, let's not even talk about that because I'm just gonna get pissed about
that.
Good. So, my God, please don't bring
Sam Raimi?
Don't bring that one in. Yeah, please.
Why?
Don't.
That was Raimi? Man, he does.
It was Sam Raimi. Yeah, that's why the Detroit Tiger connection.
How much black blood is in that movie? Is there black blood thrown all over women?
There's one scene where
every woman in the crowd is covered in black blood.
Yep, the crowd becomes deadites and they destroy Tiger Stadium.
Oh, it is a Sam Raimi movie. Oh, I was waiting for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, anything else here?
Stuff.
Fucking clown.
About fucking clown.
Yeah, that guy is a real guy, by the way. Like they brought it.
Does he hang out at minor league? I thought he was a major league guy.
Yeah, he's not their thing. He's a baseball thing at major league level too, and he was like famous for.
I don't get it.
Which I didn't like because I'm like I know fuck all about baseball, but I know who the crown prince of baseball is. So I'm like, this guy wouldn't be running around with all them. He'd be hobnobbing with the bigwigs. Like this doesn't make any sense.
The bigwigs, Travis, name 5 professional baseball teams right now.
Teams: the Orioles, the Tigers, the Nationals, the Yankees, and the Oakland A's.
Oh, well, look at this fucking guy. How about that?
Name 1 player.
That's amazing.
Name 5 baseball players.
Oh, you know things about history? Tell me all the history.
Well.
Yeah, he bounced around like all baseball stuff. So I think he was definitely big in the minor leagues too, though. So like, he could have been anywhere. So,
right.
But either way, like that guy is annoying. I'm glad he had a fun life, but I just don't find spitting water in the air to be entertaining. That's just me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there was a line, speaking of some gems in here, a line that I actually really liked came at the end, or maybe I guess twice, which was, it's a very simple game. You throw the ball, you catch the ball. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains. And like that actually, I thought that was, you can apply that to life. And the whole sometimes it rains thing, I really like that they, Annie goes to the park and gets rained out. She's like disappointed that she has to like leave the game. The game's not happening. But then like she goes home and there is Crash waiting for her. So just because it rains doesn't mean that's a bad thing. As we see that also earlier in the film, in that part that I alluded to, when they actually wanted it to get rained out so they could skip and have a day off, So it's like sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes there's this other thing that you don't know how it's going to treat you. And I thought that, there's some wisdom in that really simple line about baseball. And that's one of the things that I do appreciate about the great American pastime, which is there is some, I think that there is some profound simplicity to it.
Yeah. A lot of racism too, but yeah, you're right.
Sure. Yeah. There is, again, just the one black guy that speaks in the whole fucking movie. And then Crash gives him a hard time for getting mad for smashing up his place. He like laughs at him. He's like, "Hey, that's my stuff. You're breaking my things." And Crash laughs at him. I'm like, "Well, that's our hero."
Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, can't help you there. All right. Well, then, let's close it out. It's time to say, does this movie hold up or not? Any volunteers to go first? Should I go first? What do you want to do here?
Why don't you go first?
Okay, I'll go first. I'm just still trying to block out these goddamn stupid ads. These spam people, they won't go away in our comments. Sorry about these. I try to block them, and they won't be blocked anymore. They've become self-aware. It's bad news. Look, this movie's a big deal. People who know baseball and sports thought it was very authentic and a representation of a time and a place, and it is. And, it's just not the Kevin Costner bit. It's just not as quality to me anymore. And I've often wrestled with the fact of Kevin Costner. Is this guy a good actor or not? And, in Dances with Wolves, I thought he was. I thought he did a good job. It depends on the film. He has an eye because he directed that movie too. But then he didn't direct The Postman as well?
Oh, yeah.
Good God, this guy is all over the place. And I guess that's kind of what you get with this movie is I love the Annie character. And, nobody's supposed to be straightforward. All these characters have different aspects of their lives that they're proud of, they're ashamed of, confused about, uncertain. Everybody's progressing through a lifespan, and they're at different phases, and some are more aligned than others. So you have Nuke's an immature kid, and that's natural, but he's just going to be an even bigger dick down the road. If there was a follow-up movie to this, the guy, Nuke in the majors, he'd just be a bigger asshole because he's getting more and more served up to him, and it would not be enjoyable at all. I appreciate that he's an innocent kid, and Tim Robbins does a good job of that, representing a guy who has a lot to be grateful for, but he doesn't know that yet because he doesn't know what it means to be grateful and to lose stuff over time. He doesn't have that yet. That's part of maturity. So I dig that, and I like the cozy local town feel of this movie. They do a good job of creating that environment, and it's not funny though. Like I agree with you guys. Did not laugh that much. And I guess in the end, this is a tough one. I'm going to say this movie holds up because I still watched it straight through, no skips or anything. Was entertained, and I really do think more than you guys. We talked about it. It's okay that the Annie character is a unique and special character that should be looked upon with favor, and I'm always going to look upon that, especially as more time passes. So I think that alone is enough for me to say this movie holds up.
Yeah, a big deal, man. That 7.0 even surprised me. I am wondering, is this the baseball movie that set it all? Like, I'm trying to think of like what some subsequent efforts were here in terms of this industry. Well, that was like fantasy. I'm like talking about actually authentic baseball films about this sport and this industry. Yeah, I don't know, man. For me, like, and I like Ronnie Shelton, man. God bless him. The writing's just weird for me. I don't like this lead character. I think, I'm sorry, dude. I respect the hell out of you, Mike. I just think the Sandy character is too like sexually quixotic for me in negative ways. I guess that's all I can say. And it's just the laughs aren't there for me, dude. And I can't say it holds up because I don't get anything from it. There's a lot of movies about sports out there that I can take a lot from. I can learn a lot from. This isn't one of them. If you were to ask me like what the themes are, I don't know. Squeeze everything you can out of other people to reach the top, or at least be content with your life. I just don't know, man. It doesn't hold up for me. I did not enjoy myself. I couldn't wait for it to end.
That's all right. That's no punches pulled. So
I love it.
Yeah, no, I love it too. Don't feel bad later, Eric. Please. We know how you can do sometimes. I respect that 9 minutes and 33 seconds into this film, Kevin Costner walks in right at he's your hook right at the end. Hey, we're going to introduce your main character now. So there are some things that throw me for a few loops in an otherwise extremely conventional film. I do think that Annie is annoying more than anything else. I find her pretty annoying as a character. Just the mess of bullshit coming out of her mouth is the pseudo fucking intellectual nonsense that she doesn't know. And she knows she's dazzling people with her bullshit. And which is why when Crash cuts right through it shocks and appeals to her, because this is someone who's not impressed by her lexicon. So I found, to the point where I was almost tuning her out. And then at the very end of the movie, she has this line where she says, "The world is made for people who aren't cursed with self-awareness." Boom! Like, fuck. That kind of stuff just gets thrown out here and there throughout the movie, where there's like, just a field of bullshit. Who cares about it? Then there's like this one big flower. And I'm like, damn, that's a great line and a great observation. And it shows like why, Annie and Crash, like, they care too much. They try too hard. They think too much. That's a theme of the movie: overthinking and not overthinking, and how to use that, like how to control like your mental anxiety and how that can impede on the talents that you have and that kind of stuff. So that impressed me. Honestly, like, I was pretty not into this movie for the first 2 acts. And I was like, I'm just not feeling it. And I was really surprised by the 3rd act, which is rare because usually romantic comedies especially fall apart in the 3rd act. But what really got me in this movie was when Crash is punched in the face by Nuke and he falls back against the pool table and he's like, "Did you hit me with your left?" And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Did you hit me with your left hand? Like, don't waste your pitching hand when you're dealing with a dumb drunk," or whatever he says. And I'm like, fuck, he knows how out of line he is. Because I'm watching the movie being like, of course he's being a bitter fuck, because he's been a bitter fuck through the whole movie. He's got a heart of gold or whatever, but he's a bitter fuck. And I'm like, and so he surprises me when he's all bitter that Nuke has done well. Because it's like, what do you want? You're angry when he's not using his talent. You're angry when he is using his talent. And in the end, like, he's not a perfect guy by any stretch. And he says, "Sometimes I got to howl at the moon." And that's not an apology, but it's a very authentic character that they let this guy be wrong. And even better, that he knows that he was wrong and he knows that he deserved to get punched in the face. And then at that moment, that's when it finally fucking grabbed me at the very end of the film. I'm like, all right, you got me, Bull Durham. It holds up.
Wow. Okay. That was a very detailed review. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Well, it's a 2-1. And you splayed a lot better than I did. You got more out of it than I did, which is good.
I did have to look a little bit.
Yeah, but those are some great gems. And I wanted to mention that you're right. There's a lot of things in this movie, lines that are about life. It's a movie it's a philosophical musing in a way, this film is. So, and it shows people who do it better than others. Sometimes I think that is philosophy too, especially if you're kind of an amateur, bar creature, philosopher who wants to spot off some shit. Philosopher who wants to spot off some shit here and there. You're going to sound like a moron, and you get that in the movie, but you also get moments where people get it momentarily. And I think that's life too. So It's a really good breakdown. All right, well, there it is, Bull Durham. This one's in the can, and we thank you for watching. Next week, we're going to have a guest on.
Yay.
And his name's Robbie. He's a really sweet Canadian boy. He does his own show about baseball. That's how I met him. Him and his friend Ty. Yeah, they're baseball people. But have no fear, there will be no baseball movie selected because he loves the show. In fact, he reached out and said, I love Cinema 9. I think he watches and listens to this show more than he does my own baseball show. So,
all right. Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah. So he's familiar with how things work, and he's excited to be a part of next week's movie, which he has selected. And I got to tell you, I've never seen this movie.
Okay.
But I've heard a lot about it.
Freddy got fingered?
Freddy got fingered? No.
I know you've seen that. Okay.
Wouldn't that have been amazing? That would have been amazing if you picked that.
Someone please.
A joke.
We're going back to 2001, though. We're close to Freddy Got Fingered. So it's the same year. It's time for the original that spawned a billion movies.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Yep, we're doing
X-Men?
it.
Fast and the Furious.
Fast and the Furious. We're doing it. I've never seen it. I have never seen this movie.
I turned it off. So I saw part of it.
Robbie said it was a movie about much more than you realized. So I'm gonna find out. I've never seen it at all, and I've heard all the jokes. I've made a million Fast and Furious jokes over my life.
Too fast. Too furious.
Too fast, too furious. Yeah, I guess it's time to finally at least find out what's going on here with the original.
Okay, I saw it in the theater. I've seen it a few times. I'm excited about this
shit.
episode.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Be surprised what we learn from this. You never know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're a good man, Robbie. So don't worry, it's not your fault, Robbie.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
So Tim Stock says, "Hail." Hail? Is that part of the movie?
Who is that?
He's saying hello. He's greeting us. Hail.
Oh.
From Tim Stocks.
Hail, Tim Talk. Tim's Talk. Talking
Tim's
Tim.
Talk.
You guys talk Tim on Tim's Talk? Because you better.
Oh, I talked Tim. Real good.
Talk Tim.
Top 5 Tims.
Top 5 Tims. All right, that's it. Let's stop with the top 5. You're on a roll
Golf.
today. Yeah, Dorf goes fishing. That's the show. Thank you so much for watching, listening. 5-star review. It helps the show grow. And if you like what we do, share it with your friends. If you like movies, I think we do an admirable job of keeping it light, but also hitting salient points while also being clueless at times, admitting it freely. I think you run the gamut here. So for Travis and Eric, I'm Michael. If you like what we do so much you want the Patreon, check it out in the show notes. There's the link. And until next time, next week with Robbie doing Fast and Furious.
Fuck this fucking game.
A cock, a pussy.
Pussy.